On today's show, shocking, the Dallas Mavericks are reportedly going to target a guard in trades and free agency. We've got names on names on names on names, and the most realistic option for the Mavericks in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm going to get a city life back.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with the dog blood.
And welcome to Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Right alongside me, the offseason oligarch, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I'm still enjoying all the Cooper Flag content. It's just like kind of hooked up like an IV right now. And just like, you know, when you walk down the hallway at like a hospital and you're like carrying the bag and like the little stand with you, that's kind of like the Cooper Flag content just pumping in right now.
Just the IV right into the veins.
Seeing all the likes on Instagram, him and Lively liking the Duke edit of the jersey.
It's great.
I mean, shout out to Duke right now, just fully leaning into the
Going for it.
Cooper Flag Mavericks stuff, which is awesome.
Duke edited like the side of the AAC, like one of the big LED boards on the side of the AAC with Kyrie and Flag and Lively on it, and then like a banner around the AAC.
Farm
man, they're
that
like,
engagement.
Do you think they're super bored over there?
No, I mean you got to fully lean into it. This is the best freshman they've ever had. So, I mean, and there's a lot of good players that play at Duke, so they're fully leaning into it.
Jahlil Okafor was.
Yeah, that post hook just over the left shoulder.
I mean, his left hand and into his footwork. Like today's episode, we're going to get into the Mavs' biggest need of the offseason. We've been talking about it for weeks before the draft lottery even happened, that the Mavericks needed to target a guard. So we've got a bunch of options for you. Tradable options, we've got free agent options, mid money, big money, notable ones, all kinds of stuff like that. But let's start here. Got the alert that Shams Charania had mentioned, and there was a report. Shout out to the Twitter aggregators, because several accounts reported, big report, the Dallas Mavericks will be targeting guards, specifically point guards, in free
News to
agency
me.
and in trades. I was like,
Sarcasm.
What a shocking development. Of course, it's their biggest need. It's the thing we knew that they needed. They needed it even before Kyrie went down with the ACL. We knew, looking at the team, even the night of the Anthony Davis trade, that you say, all right, this team needs another guard. They need one more guard. They need one more scorer, playmaker, somebody to go get a bucket every once in a while. They need somebody like that. And then Kyrie goes down, and then all of a sudden it becomes even bigger of an issue for the Mavericks. And so you start to look around, you're like, all right, well, now we know for sure we have one answer for how they could get a guard. It's not going to be through the draft. Like, newsflash, we talked about it yesterday on the show.
Maybe.
The Mavericks are reportedly not going to trade the number one pick. They're going to take Cooper Flag, which is
It's great. It's great, dude. Dude, it's great.
and this summer will not be.
Tumultuous.
And so now the Mavs have an answer there. All right, now your full focus needs to be on a guard in free agency or in a trade somehow. And I think they have to get somebody like that for many reasons.
Yeah, this is why Bronny James is at the top of the list. And
I mean, development piece, like you
defense
talk about
wins championships.
You talk about pedigree. Like, he was in the house with the GOAT growing up.
Some of y'all want Drew Holiday, but why not get Drew Holiday when he first started off?
Isaac hates when I call LeBron the GOAT.
I'm gonna fight you. No, this is a thing. And you know, once Kyrie went down with ACL and he's going to come back probably around January, you need a starting caliber point guard. So it, like, the priority went up even another notch in that of like, hey, I'm tired of watching Dinwiddie do this last year, so we need a good backup guard. Well, now you need a serviceable, like, stopgap. I know we love that word.
Love it.
Point guard to kind of hold his own there until Kyrie comes back, and preferably a guy who can, you know, still obviously going to stay in the rotation, be a 6-man type of guy, something that could maybe play with Kyrie and stuff. So that's the obviously the main thing for Dallas going into this offseason. And they have some assets now, right? Like we know what they're working with. They don't have a lot on the roster with Brandon Williams and Jaden Hardy. You gotta, I don't think, got a few questions today in the Q&A about Brandon Williams. I really would be shocked if they go into the season with Brandon Williams as a starting point guard.
Yeah, that would be.
I love him, and I'm glad he should be back next year and all the stuff, but more of a backup type of role. So how can they go out and trade for a guy or, go the cheaper route in a free agent?
These are the options. These are the assets that they have. They have their 2025 first. That's number one overall. They're not going to trade that one.
Bye.
They do have 2026. They can use that after the draft has happened and after they've used the pick. And so that's definitely a possibility. They have the 2029 Lakers first round pick, and they have a 2031 first round pick that they can trade. And so you have 3 first round picks basically you can trade. You have tradable contracts. We talked a lot about a Gafford trade potentially. Talked a lot about PJ Washington. How many questions you get today about PJ Washington on the text line? Line. I love it. But the Mavs have tradable contracts. They have a lot. They have 10 players between $3 million and $17 million next year. Those are all tradable contracts. The $54 million, the $40 million, those are hard to trade unless you're just doing 1-to-1 basically. But the $3 to $17 million, that's in the sweet spot. That's where you can actually move some stuff around. And the Mavs have a couple of guys. You talk about Gafford, Washington, Klay Thompson, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, maybe Derek Lively. I don't know if we're throwing him around as a trade piece, but he's out there. Jaden Hardy's contract is $6 million. You add that to somebody's, and that'll get you over the hump somewhere. And so the Mavs do have some things to work with here. Let's just start with this. How much are you willing to give up, though, to get some kind of guard? Because now that the Mavs have Cooper Flagg, I think it changes this a little bit, because I think it changes this in a couple ways. One of them, your need for a playmaker, you desperately needed a playmaker before Cooper Flagg. Now I think you just need one. You're not like so desperate, because Cooper Flagg can handle the ball. He can play make a little bit. Anthony Davis can play make a little bit. Like you've got the semblance of an offense now with those guys now. And so like I think they have some of that. They have enough to put together to maybe hold the fort down until Kyrie comes back. And so you're not so desperate. You're like, man, we may not win a bunch of games if we don't add somebody that can, create. And so that I kind of think it's a little bit lesser of a need. It obviously still is the number one need, but
yeah, I think the only thing that getting Cooper Flagg does is it barely eliminates, like if you're going into trying to trade for a point guard, we saw how much they struggled with offense of like getting the shot on their own and scoring on their own, a creator type of guy. I think it lessens that just a little bit, that you don't have to prioritize that completely, that you can prioritize the playmaking, the like running the show type of point guard. Like, I think that maybe might etch out a little bit of the, we just got to get a 30-point, game score. If you're going out there and you're like, all right, do we go, if you're debating, in both of these guys were on the floor or on the table for some reason, and you're like, all right, Cole Anthony, get buckets. TJ McConnell, he's more of like his setup guy and all that stuff. So I think that Cooper's going to be able to score. So anyway, I don't think they're going to be as picky with it. It's just a matter of what they're willing to give up. You have the expirings of Gafford and Washington. I think Gafford is the one more than Washington. We'll talk more about PJ later on, but it's more about Gafford's expiring. They have, a decent amount of bigs now. What can you go out and try to get with that expiring?
Coming up, do we trust Jason Kidd is going to change the offense enough to make it so that a point guard is not as big of a need next year? I'm curious about that. And then also we'll start to name some names of guys we think the Mavs could go after coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Wayfair. They got just what you need. The days are getting longer. The weather is warming up. It hit 90 today, and I don't think I was personally ready for it to hit 90, but you may be. And so if you're ready for it outside and you're ready to be outside and to hang out on a patio or a back porch or something, but you're like, it's just missing something. It's missing a chair. It's missing some kind of like table. It's missing something out there. Wayfair has got you covered. All kinds of great stuff. Massive selection of outdoor essentials. Makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal setup, from comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor. Was the sleek dining table going outside? This whole thing is about outside. The sleek dining table? I guess so. They've got it all at prices that fit your budget. Check it out. Delivery is free and hassle-free. I've used it. It's awesome. They send it straight to your door. You put it together. It's great. You don't have to figure out if it's going to fit in your car. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online. This summer, get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners. If you are a Duke fan or if you're a Cooper Flag, a Mainite, I don't know, what do they call them? Mains? Do they call them Mains? What do you call someone from Maine?
I thought you were going to say a mini night. I was like, no.
A Mainite? We call our listeners the Raccoon Squad. It's a long story. Yeah, we'll maybe tell you it one day. But subscribe to our text line. Great stuff there all the time. Like Isaac said, he did a Q&A there, 214-643-8637. Couple weeks to get it free, and then you see if you want to support us more, and then you can support the show after that, and it's a great way to do that. Check the link in the description. All right, Isaac. One question I want to ask before we start getting into names.
I was going to say, somebody might fight us if we don't start mentioning names.
That's fine. They can fight. I got them. Do we trust Jason Kidd that he's going to change the offense enough? Because in the middle of the season, it's going to be hard to install a bunch of stuff that's different, that changes this team from stuff that they would run with Luka and Kyrie to stuff that they would run with a team that doesn't have a ball dominant guards in that way anymore. I kind of think it will change a little bit. And I think that it won't be as stark as it was at the end of last year. We're going, oh my gosh, this team cannot even generate shots. Like, I think they'll be able to generate shots a little bit better, because I think he will change it, because he's gonna kind of have to.
Yeah. I think everything went back to the drawing board once you get Cooper Flag. So
yeah,
now you got to figure out what the offense is going to look like. Not saying you're going to run everything through Cooper Flag. It's just like you're not going to treat Cooper Flag like another wing that you just have out there.
They call people from Maine Mainers.
I don't think I'm going to use that word.
I don't think I like that. Let's start with the big money guys. Let's start with some of the big money guys where you go, all right, if the Mavs want to really go all in and they think, all right, let's try and win now. Let's go get somebody that's making some big money and move a contract or two. What names are you looking at?
Well, I mean, I think the first name is Anfernee Simons, that a lot of people, try to make that tie between. Portland has some younger guards now. They could look to move him. He's at 25.8 next year, 27.6 after that, guaranteed. He's still young. He would be a guy that, Kyrie comes back and he could still come off the bench and be an amazing six-man guy. It's just a matter of how much it's going to take to go get him. Is it, he's at that 25 number. So if you use Gafford, use Jaden Hardy, that gets you up to 20, 21. Yeah. Throw in somebody else, and then you probably have to, do a first round pick or something with that to get Simons.
Does Gafford, Hardy, Max Christie, and a first get it done?
Oh, Max and a first?
Because Max makes 5, right?
I'm not trying to give up Max Christie, but...
But you do that and you don't have to give up another first. They got to give up some stuff to get something. And you're getting Anfernee Simons, who is 25 himself and is already very, very good.
Yeah, I just don't know what his role is moving forward with them. And
Max makes 7, by the way. Sorry, so a little above that. They'd figure it out. They'd throw somebody else in there.
So he's like a bigger money guy. That's a pretty big commitment to go out and get a guy like that. Yeah, that's kind of like a all-in type of thing. DeJounte Murray, he still has.
Well, should they go all in?
I would hold back. There's some middle tier guys that I think I would go after more.
Okay.
Just because when you start to look at it too, it's like you're ready to hand a 3-year deal to Kyrie Irving, and then all of a sudden you're looking at what, $65 million, possibly between Anfernee Simons and Kyrie of your salary cap. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm fully against it. I'm just saying it depends on the price for Simons. You look at some other bigger money guys as far as if you're going to combine some contracts, is New Orleans, I don't even know what the state they're in right now. DeJounte Murray, is he worth it coming off injury and all the stuff? He's big enough to be able to play with Kyrie and everything once Kyrie comes back, but that's a pretty big commitment too. I love Terry Rozier, but I wouldn't bet on him right now.
Do you think he would bet on him?
I wouldn't go and get Terry Rozier. I was really concerned with this last year. No.
You know what? You know who I would still go get? Miles Turner.
I bet you would.
Remember years ago we were like, I legitimately thought if the Mavs went and got Terry Rozier and Miles Turner that they would win the title. And look where we are now.
I know a lot of people throw out Derek White because of the Boston situation, and the whole thing with Boston with Derek White, Drew Holiday, even Peyton Pritchard. If they start shipping off some of these guys, it's going to be to save money. So they're going to want to save money like now. So that's where I'm like, I don't know about the, I guess, long-term thing, type of thing with them, but I just don't see them being able to get Derek White would be awesome.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be able to trade to somebody with cap space, like to really offload it right now. But they could trade with somebody that has an expiring, like a PJ or a Gafford. And
true.
Then all of a sudden, okay, at least you get that relief next year.
I mean, yeah.
Or Dwight Powell and Omax together is like $7 million.
True. I mean, yeah.
Send Dwight back to Boston.
It would be nice to get Derek White. I mean, I think the only one over $20 million that I could see make sense for them is Marcus Smart. He's on a $21 million expiring contract. Went to Washington in those trades. Does Dallas, would you swap it? And I don't think you're giving a first round pick for him and stuff. So is like Gafford and Jaden Hardy for Marcus Smart make you happy?
I don't think that makes them better. I don't know about Marcus Smart right now. I know the Locked On Wizards guys were like, they thought highly of Marcus Smart. They thought that he played well for them, but I don't know. I did not watch enough Wizards. I'm not going to lie. No, I did not watch enough Wizards games to know if he still got it, but he didn't seem to have it for the Grizzlies.
So it's the middle tier guys that I'm going to then. Those are the more realistic options. And I think there's a bunch of names through there. Coby White's the first one that I would love for them to go after. I know Mark Stein says something about them, how difficult it would be for them to get him. He's at 12.8 expiring next year.
What Stein said today was that it would be very hard for the Mavericks to get Coby White if they didn't give up draft capital. And so the question then is, are you willing to do a Coby White for, let's say the Coby White and another smaller contract from them for a Gafford or a PJ Washington? I don't know why the Bulls would do that necessarily. Maybe to just get some like win now pieces around some of their younger guys, but should they do that plus like the Lakers pick or the 2031 first round pick? Like that to me, that's kind of tough. But what else do you have those picks for? And you're trying to win now, except for now they have Cooper Flagg, and so maybe you should keep those picks to use them down the road.
I would definitely be open to using one of the first round picks with Coby White. I think he's that good. I think he has the size to play with Kyrie and stuff. I don't think you're going to have to pay him $30 million a year after next season. So
he has an expiring contract. So
yeah, so I would actually be. I mean, obviously, I'm all in on Coby White. So, but there's other options too that I think you can. If you're talking draft capital, these are some players that you're probably going to have to give up draft capital for. The Austin Reeves, it feels like he's going to get more than what they're going to be able to, be willing to give up. I'm still a fan of Anthony Black in Orlando. So what, if Orlando looks at it and was like, hey, we kind of want to switch some things up, they're going to go get a different point guard or something. I would love to go get him, but you probably have to attach some draft capital to that. But outside of that, there's some other names and stuff that I feel like you like that they could go get and maybe not have to give some draft picks.
I got some more that I can start spouting off here. Coming up, let's get into some more names for the Mavericks that they may not have to give up draft capital for. It may just take some contracts. Who are those names? We'll get into that and more coming up. All right, Isaac. Let's talk about some more guard targets the Mavericks could look at this offseason. I'm looking at some names, and the first one the first name that came to my mind that we haven't talked about that was a big money one, or at least a kind of a big money one, was Malik Monk, $18.7 million for next year. And that one's one that intrigues me. I think they would have to give up draft capital for that one. but he would be really good because he could obviously be a six man. He did a lot of playmaking for the Kings at the end of the year. Like Matt George was raving about his playmaking after they traded De'Aaron Fox. He was like, Malik Monk has been the point guard and he's really stepped up in a playmaker role. And so that one piqued my interest. Maybe the Kings take a complete left turn and go, all right, we got to do something because this roster makes absolutely no sense.
It feels like PJ has to be in that deal for Malik Monk. And like, I don't think they care about having Gafford.
No.
Malik Monk's, I get the playmaking towards the end of the season, and I like him as a player, definitely coming off the bench to like run the offense and stuff. It scares me some to like, hey, I need you to get the ball to Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson and stuff. Like, that worries me a little bit, but I do like him as a player.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of names on these lists where you go, I'm real confident in you running first team offense for a number one pick that we really are invested in the future of, and Anthony Davis, who we're really invested in the present of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at like Lonzo in Chicago. I would love to get Lonzo in this role, like to play 3 months and to come in at $10 million. And then the year after that's $10 million non-guaranteed. You're not giving up a first round pick to get Lonzo Ball. I mean, that's a name that I would love for them to try to go get.
The Mavs don't have enough rooms in the training room for the Mavs. If they had that,
Well, they got to have people. They got to have like trainers in there first. So, with certificates. So, there's some other names too in that middle range. TJ McConnell, like I said. I mean, Chicago, they could just stay on the phone with Chicago and just go down the list. Like, hey, are you going to pay Josh Giddey? What are you going to pay him? Okay, what about Coby White? Well, what about Lonzo? Well, what about Io? I mean, just go down the line there. Is there a guard we can just have? All right. You had Gafford in the very beginning. I like Jose Alvarado. It feels like he's a little too small to go out and do that, but I think it would be a cheaper option for him too.
Yeah, he only makes $4.5 million. That one is a real interesting one. You mentioned Io, he makes $7.5. You mentioned Peyton Pritchard, and Hardy Omax plus Dwight Powell equals $7 million. Like, I don't know if they want to offload money, they could figure out how to offload money there.
How much money does he make over the next like 3 years than Jaden Hardy? Like that.
Well, I was saying Omax and Dwight Powell. That gets you to 7. The Jaden Hardy one is 6. And so he only makes $1 million more. So that one wouldn't make a ton of sense for them. The name that is kind of the name that stands out to me, because you've got to go with a guy that, all right, you can set up the offense, you feel confident, maybe more of a veteran. He's having a really good game tonight for the Timberwolves, but he's on expiring next year. He's kind of looked shaky for them a little bit. But Mike Connley, making $10.7 million next year, could obviously set up, would be totally fine to go to a backup role when Kyrie comes back.
He just feels so important to that Minnesota team.
I know, but Minnesota, so did Cat last year, and they made that move, right? Like, Minnesota is one of those teams that'll just go, all right, we've got something. If they don't make the finals, then all of a sudden they go, we got to shake something up. We got to come up with a better guard option here. And they just shoot for something, and the Mavs are a third team, and they pull in Mike Conley in the 3-team deal. That feels like a Minnesota thing.
Yeah, dude, if they get Mike Conley, that'd be great. Especially because, you're looking at like 3 or 4 months, and then coming off the bench once Kyrie and stuff comes back. So, DiVincenzo,
he just doesn't do what the Mavs would need him to do. He's a 2, and they need more 1 things.
I got too wrapped up into like, oh man, he'd be a fun fit after Kyrie comes back too.
He would.
Yeah, I mean, I think the names through here, if they make a trade, the names I think would get people the most excited is like the Anfernee Simons, Coby White, Malik Monk. I think those 3 names would get Mavs fans the most excited. I think there's some moves if they don't want to include draft capital. I think you're looking at guys like Lonzo Ball, Marcus Smart.
Tough.
Alvarado. That's why it's like, you look at the free agent market, and Tom's report is like, hey, they're going to look, they're trying to go get a point guard, whether it's through trade or free agency too. There's a lot of names out there that if you're trying to look at the stopgap stuff, I mean, you could just go down the list of these names. You look at, Dennis Schroeder's names gets thrown out all the time. He's been on a million teams, but he had a good role in Detroit this past season. The vets out there, everybody's watching Westbrook right now for Denver.
Yep.
Does he not just feel like a Nico guy?
He is going to go all out every possession. You heard him in the playoffs when he said, I'm going to go all out no matter what. Sometimes it'll be a turnover. Sometimes it'll be a made shot. Sometimes it'll be a steal. Westbrook literally said that about himself, but I can see Nico saying that. Like he's honest to the point where, talking about that, but I have Westbrook on my list. The thing that's going to be tough about this now is we talked about it yesterday. The Mavs are probably not going to have that tax mid-level, the $5.6 million. They'll probably just have minimums to give free agents unless they maneuver something in the cap, because Cooper Flagg, the number 1 pick, makes $8 million more than the number 11 pick. So it changes so much for you. So you'd have to shed what I think it's like $13 million you'd have to shed in order to get under that tax to have that 5.6, which is like, doesn't seem like it's worth it to shed 13 to get 5. It's like,
not necessarily. You could call
unless the players are better.
You could call up Brooklyn on draft night and say, "Hey, you have 4 first round draft picks. Do you want to give one of those in the 20s for Daniel Gafford and just absorb Gafford there? Could he get you pick 25 or whatever they have? Then you take Walter Clayton Jr. From Florida, and that would be a fun guard to have. But some other point.
That's the guy you would want if they traded back in the draft for a guard.
Yeah, I would like him. Yeah, I think Nico would like him too.
He was fun in the tournament.
Some other names, 2 names that are underrated that I haven't seen a lot of people mention because they didn't really play a ton last year, and that's DeAnthony Melton and Markelle Fultz. So Melton signed with Golden State, started off pretty good, then he tore his ACL in November of 2024. So he should be good, good to go for next season. He's a bigger guy too, plays defense. I would like him. I don't think he's going to cost a ton. And then Markelle Fultz, Markelle Fultz had a great season for Orlando, but then he had some like injury stuff towards the end of it, wasn't fully healthy. And I was reading up why he didn't sign with the team, because he didn't sign with the Kings until like right around the trade deadline of this past season. It's like, why didn't he sign with anybody?
Yeah.
It felt kind of weird. And the interviews he did, he was like, dude, it was the first time in my career I could just like take a break and just fully get healthy. And he was like, he says right now that it's the most healthy he's been in his career. And then seeing him come back for Sacramento, and he finished the season and stuff at Sacramento. So now he's a free agent. I would be down to bring Markelle Fultz in too. So those are 2 names that are underrated. And then Chris Paul's name gets thrown out a lot.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome too. Nico has to have a relationship with Chris Paul with Anthony Davis, Kyrie, these guys. And the appeal to Chris Paul of like, hey, come in, start at point guard, get us to January and stuff. And if things go great, maybe we can find you a different home from there. If you want to stay, we can keep you and you come off the bench and stuff with us. But he would be awesome. I would be very, very happy to have Chris Paul setting up the offense for Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, the entry passes, run and pick and roll, to understanding things. He's not great defensively at this point in his career. He's old. We get it. But I think just what this team could need in that stopgap role, I think it would be awesome to have Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, Mike Connley, like those 2 guys really epitomize everything the Mavericks need in that role. And they're older now, but that's how you're able to get them. Another guy that was really interesting to me, he used to play for the Mavericks, Spencer Dinwiddie.
Wow, dude, I haven't thought about him in a while.
Isaac is so done with Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I'm kind of done. I would be very interested in bringing Dante Exum back.
I would too. That would be an interesting one, and honestly, probably the most realistic one the Mavericks could do is to just bring Exum back in that same role. And they only need him until Kyrie comes back, which I think he could if he's healthy. The Tyus Jones name.
Oh,
that
guy.
He went for a minimum with the Suns. Everybody was freaking out about how crazy that was. The Locked On Suns guys were like done with him by the end of the season too. Do you think he's earned more than a minimum, or do you think he's a minimum guy again? And if so, I'd be willing to make that bet on Tyus Jones because he was really good for the Grizzlies.
Can you judge anybody from Phoenix last year? Like, who are they not done with?
What if Devin Booker is like an MVP level player, but he's just been playing in Phoenix for so long that it just like
They have a different coach every year. I just don't understand. Like, I would definitely be interested in bringing Tyus Jones in more than Trey Jones, his brother. But I would, yes, Tyus Jones was good before Phoenix, and talking about taking a pay cut to play for thinking you're going to play for a title team, and then the season just goes a disaster. So what's his value? Kind of feel for him too. Of
I know how much money did he lose?
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely be interested in him. What does Nickeil Alexander-Walker get on the market from Minnesota? He's an expiring deal.
More.
I mean, Malcolm Brogdon, Bruce Brown.
The Malcolm Brogdon name is interesting because he's just been injured a lot. If he could be healthy for a couple months, can you be healthy for a couple months?
Yeah.
Run the point guards, but he'd be really good in that spot.
D'Angelo Russell's gonna get more than minimum, and honestly, that's fine. Go somewhere else.
Good for him. Happy for him. For him and his family.
There's just definitely some names through there that you're like, all right, you could go into next season bringing in some cheaper point guards. You could do it that way, and just all right, and maybe use Gafford's contract to go get I don't know, another wing or something else. But I would, if I was a betting man, I would put money down that Daniel Gafford is moved for some type of point guard. And then I think they still bring in another point guard as a free agent, and they roll into next season, the start of next season, with a Brandon Williams, a Chris Paul, and I don't know, Lonzo Ball or something. And that's what they swapped out Gafford for, or something like that. I think they go with that route instead of, hey, let's combine some contracts and a pick or two to go get Anfernee Simons or a Derek White or something like that. I don't think that they'll go that route.
Yeah, because you can't leverage too much of the future. You just can't. I don't think they can give up too much more.
We know the timeline.
We know what the timeline was. I know what the timeline is now. And whether Nico has accepted what the timeline is or not, I don't know. We'll see.
But I don't think the timeline has changed for him. I think he still wants to win now. Cooper Flag helps you win.
Because his contract is still 3 years.
Hey, can we line your contract up? Your rookie deal for 3 years.
The CBA is the Players Association is calling me and saying that the rookie deal is 5 years. I'm not understanding why I can't offer you 3.
It's crap. I didn't know that.
We're gonna do a one more thing about Cooper Flag and the best trait that we think he has that could make him a star. We'll talk about that. So check that out on whatever feed you're listening and watching this on, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back all this week with all kinds of great stuff. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Explain yourself.
Sorry.